And you know what? Let's bring on Tim Brando because I want to tell Tim Brando about it.
Oh, is Tim Brando here?
Our buddy Timmy B. Timmy B, can you hear me, my friend?
I can hear you. What's up?
Hey, so you know we're doing this fantasy football league, and me and Cone are playing each other, and we do these side bets. So we've decided, because we want to hear what you think about this. We've decided that the loser of the fantasy football game between us this week has to wear a straitjacket for half the show, so you can't use your arms, and the other people will have things they can throw at him, and somebody will have a stick that they can poke at the person. Your thoughts on the punishment for fantasy football, and do you have any better ideas?
I think maybe tape over the mouth.
No.
Yeah.
Then I'm just replacement cone.
Electrical tape. You know?
Yeah.
You have to come on that day.
Nice.
We want to interview you.
Yeah, Tim, you have to come on that day. But no, it's we already had the one where the loser had to get the birth simulator.
The labor
simulator.
Michael Knowles had to go through the labor
that was really good. You know, walking the other shoes.
I'm just telling you what most of the people that have worked with me have fantasized about doing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, believe me, I'm sure Reed wouldn't be super pissed if my mouth got duct taped for 30 minutes. But you know, Tim, speaking of somebody that needs duct tape, if you need to fix something, you definitely need duct tape, and A&M right now needs probably a vault of duct tape. I wanted to ask you and phrase the question this way. If you were the main money guy at A&M, the booster that has the most influence, basically whoever has the most oil, let's just put it that way, and you're looking at Jimbo's contract and you've watched the way A&M has played, I know they have a ton of good freshmen, they signed that big class. What are you thinking right now, and are you starting to think maybe we need to start looking for an off-ramp sooner rather than later?
Well, I have a real hard time thinking in those terms because I think if you're really one of the great money men of A&M, I'd be looking in the mirror and I'd be saying, what the hell have I done to myself? Okay, why have I done this to myself? Because you know that's the biggest issue there now. Okay, A&M is now morphing into a combination of some variation of what Texas was and what Auburn is. Only they got more of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're as big of a punchline, you know, to me as Auburn in its heyday was a punchline. And you know the sad part is there are great people at both of these places. You know that the Auburn faithful and the Aggies that I know, that the Aggie faithful. When I make these statements, people think I'm really coming after them as a program and their fan base, and I'm not. I'm simply saying that, you know, when you have that many financial chiefs, okay, that are dipping in, they feel like they should take ownership, and they feel that they have the right to become the problem, and they do become the problem. Okay. And the layers of bureaucracy at every school are different. And there's times when the history of the program and the bureaucracy, you know, kind of fuse together at the same time. It's on the opposite end, Jake, of when opportunity meets preparation for a coach or a broadcaster. You know, you're ready to take that big leap. Something great's about to happen. Well, on the flip side of that is when the demons of your program's history collide simultaneously with taking shortcuts, you get in trouble. You know, you and I, by the way, I haven't seen any freezing cold take retweets of anything that I said on your show during the summer about Texas A&M.
I was going to say, Timmy B, you came on here and you caught more hell than a serial killer after they electrocuted him for saying that A&M was overrated. And I mean, but Timmy B, my thing is this: everybody points to the offense, and look, I get that. All right, Jimbo's an offensive coach. You look the lack of explosive plays. Now, they don't have a vertical threat, and it's hard to have explosive plays when people know you can't beat them deep, and now Anais Smith's out for the season. But when I look at A&M, it's a full-throated, three-phase problem. Name one game or name two games where 2 out of the 3 phases for A&M played well together. They haven't. That's a totally different problem than not hitting explosive plays on offense.
All right, it hasn't happened. And this is what happens when your foundation is based on 5-star, 4-star, big star. We're bigger than you, okay? Where are the Aggie grunts? Okay. We heard anything out of them about, anything remotely close to what the 12th man used to be? The foundation of A&M's history. There is some history there.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's not championship history in the SEC, but there's plenty of history at Texas A&M. Get my old friend Jackie Sherrill on your show. Okay. Yeah. Talk about what he instilled. It didn't end gracefully for him, but it doesn't end gracefully for most.
Yeah.
But he gave them at the time what they needed, the foundation. R.C. Slocum's a dear friend of mine. I know he cares deeply about A&M, and he carried on that tradition for quite some time at Texas A&M. There's reason to be very concerned because, it looks like, hey, I got a lot of money. Now I got to get a lot of great players. And here's what's happened. You don't have a locker room. You got to have some grunts on your team. I'm not talking about walk-ons, but I'm talking about, 3 stars that develop over time and become leaders. Grit. Guys legacies, guys that wanted to be Aggies, are Aggies, and that's the foundation. That's what college football still has to have that. Mm-hmm. And when I was talking about the overrated part, the media plays into it. Okay. It's, you see what's going on with all the parity in college football. Mm. And this, by the way, the parity, I was saying after number 3, I'm not sure who to put in at number 4. Well, we just saw Georgia lay an egg at Mizzou. Alabama got a big lead, got an injury, and then all of a sudden only had a 5-point lead. Now they got some home run hitters. They responded in the 4th quarter. Look, there are teams out there doing a good job that people don't know a damn thing about because the media, is only talking about the brands. So people don't know how good some of these teams are. Have no idea how good they are. And that's why these stories mushroom into what they are. People think, we're basing preseason ratings on who's returning and how many 5 stars have you got. Mm. Well, how do we know these guys are going to mesh with the guys that are there? And who's going to be a leader among those guys? And Max Johnson is a quarterback that probably should have started the season. Didn't because of what? He's limited, so he's not the guy. Well, Max probably would have been a better leader had you given him the keys to the car a little sooner. But Jimbo didn't do that, and I think that this has happened over time. Jimbo didn't just suddenly fall off a turnip truck and not find that not be able to coach when he got to Texas A&M. He's a hell of a good coach. I've even heard some people say, and these are the quote draft nicks. This is the other thing. These gurus that come on in the 4th quarter while a team is getting their ass kicked and tell me how a guy projects as a pro. Okay, I don't need to hear that in the middle of a college football game, especially when that team is getting its butt kicked by Mississippi State. This stuff is happening in our profession. We got to look in the mirror and say what the problem is. It's partly us too that's driving this narrative that is so damn screwed up. And A&M becomes part of it because they wanted to be a numero uno in recruiting. That's not the foundation of what college football is. You got to have guys that want to be there. You got to have guys that want to win every game because they're Aggies. You don't see that with some of these programs now because the narrative has been established that you're going to get there, get your 2 years in, get the hell out, get your contract because you are a 5-star. That's a problem. And it's not just at A&M, but A&M can be the poster child for it.
Well, when you start playing for the name on the back of the jersey instead of the name on the front, then you've got a problem.
Yep.
Let me tell you one quick story, okay, fellas, because this is the week of the Jayhawk, okay?
Yeah.
Back when I was doing the old Tim Brando show, Dave Drudel was my producer. He's now running about 5 stations that Mel Karmazin son bought from ESPN Radio. We got a call. Dave Drudel got a call from someone at Wisconsin Whitewater. And they saw these helmets that were on the back of my set. And they said, calling for Coach Leipold. He'd like to send you guys a helmet. Okay. We established a relationship with Lance Leipold at that point. Well, now that helmet is a Division I helmet.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It belongs to the Kansas Jayhawks. And that team and that program, okay, that was a doormat, the worst of the worst Division I programs. Can we agree on that?
Oh, yes. For sure.
They are winning, and they are winning different ways.
Yes.
Okay. Daniels was an offensive star, great kid from California, kind of snuck through the cracks. Sark was telling me when we were meeting with him last week at Texas, that guy grew up about 4 blocks from where we were at USC. And now all of a sudden, look at him. Look what he's doing. Now they play a Matt Campbell coach team that you know is going to give ground grudgingly. They've got a really good defense there. And how do they win it? They win it with their defense and with special teams.
Yep.
You find ways to win when you're a program that's built from the ground up. And no, they don't have a bunch of 5 stars. They don't. But they've developed players within just a year and a half's time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the way you go about. That's the way the college game should be built. Even if the players are better at A&M than they are at Kansas, that's how you build successful programs. And I think we've lost our way with some of this. I really do. And it has nothing to do with NIL, has nothing to do with the transfer portal. It has to do with the grassroots of success in college athletics, which can never, you can never dismiss the grassroots of what makes the college game great, even with all the changes swirling around us. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. No, it's that more local feel. I
love it. I love to hear you bring up Kansas. So let's go over to the Big Ten quickly. Wisconsin has fired head coach Paul Cryst. He had a 67-26 record overall. He was 43-18 in the Big Ten. Hasn't started well this season, obviously. They make the move. We saw what happened, Tim, to Nebraska after they let Bo Pelini go, who was winning 10 games a season. Did Wisconsin make a mistake by firing Paul Cryst?
No, and I'll tell you why. And I like Paul a lot. And it was very un-Wisconsin-like to see this happen, particularly with a buyout that large. Brett Bielema left Wisconsin not because he was unhappy with his own deal. He left for Arkansas because they had limits on what they would pay for assistant coaches. I mean, Wisconsin was pretty tight-fisted. It's a 50-50 state politically, conservative and Democrat. And you'll find out during the upcoming midterms how they go. But the university itself has been, through the years, from an athletic standpoint, it's been pretty conservative. But what they have learned, even though they have an identity, and they won't lose that identity, I think what they learned was Jim Leonhard is a hot commodity.
Yes.
Defensive coordinator.
Yes.
And if Jim doesn't get a chance to be a head coach, probably within a year, he's going to be gone, and they're going to lose him. This is a way for them to part with Cryst, do it amicably with a huge buyout, give Leonhard a chance, and then let Leonhard maybe give some autonomy to Ingram. Bobby's got running that offense. He's got, but he's been running the offense through really what Wisconsin's old-time identity has always been under Paul Cryst. Now let's see what they do offensively. Let's see what changes they make. I'm going to find out firsthand because after Spencer and I are doing UCLA and Utah on Saturday, which is going to be a great game. I've never done a game in the Rose Bowl. I'm really looking forward to getting out there.
You've never done a game in the Rose Bowl, Tim?
Never done a game in the Rose Bowl.
I would have lost that trivia question.
It's the last college football cauldron that I've not visited.
That's exciting.
That's awesome.
The Big House and the Horseshoe were 2 that I had not either before I got to Fox. And now I get to go to the Rose Bowl. I just want to say, as the sun creeps down across the top of the San Gabriels, I want to say that. But after that, we're going to the next week. The schedule is not as strong, and we're going to get Wisconsin at Michigan State, Spencer and I, on Fox on the 15th. So we're going to I'll have better answers for you about where they are, when I come back from that game. But here's the deal. I think it's Leonhard's opportunity to be a head coach, or they're either going to lose him to someone else in college, or he might go back to the NFL, which he's already coached in the NFL.
Yeah.
So he's got about an 8-game audition here. If it goes well, I think the job is his. If it doesn't, they may be one of those in line to try to get Lance Leipold away from him.
Because
Timmy, he coached at Whitewater. He's got Wisconsin roots. And I think that would be one of the jobs that he really would consider taking.
Yeah, and I think the AD is going to be out too at Wisconsin. Don't be shocked if you see the athletic director be gone. But I would be very surprised if Jim Leonhard is not the head coach full-time at Wisconsin next year. Because I'm with you. The 3 guys, the 3 young DCs that I think are kind of next up to get a chance to be a head coach at a pretty high Power 5, middle to high power 5. Zach Arnett from Mississippi State is a guy that has just absolutely shot up the coaching ranks. He continues to put out a good product. Jim Leonard from Wisconsin and Ryan Walters from Illinois, who Illinois just paid. I know Wisconsin and Illinois just paid, is outstanding. You talk about guys that are fundamental. Watch that Illinois defense play. Watch the way they tackle. Watch the way they get their head around and play the ball, and watch how much fun they have playing with each other.
Top 5 in the country.
You know, we opened with Illinois and Indiana, and even though Indiana won that game late, you saw the fingerprints of success on that defense. And, you know, he knew what – and I'm going to tell you something. Bielema is he is a shrewd, smart individual.
He went in, he took Illinois, former Wisconsin coach, into Madison and beat them at their own game. Chase Brown went for 130, leading rusher for Wisconsin at 17 yards. I mean, that to me was an ultimate kind of in your face a little bit.
Right. And you know, the other thing about Wisconsin's decision here, and you could tell when the AD was talking, he didn't have a lot of answers, and that's because people above him were making this decision to pay the $16 million buyout. Wisconsin is a team that in that Western Division of the Big Ten will always be in the hunt. Now, they aren't this year probably, but although Minnesota did lose too, so I guess it's still open. You know, the Big Ten West is still open, but they'll always be in the hunt. But you can't go and lay an egg at home and also look as bad as they look against Ohio State, because ultimately, if you're going to win a championship, not just get to Indianapolis, you've got to beat either a Michigan team or an Ohio State team that look to be a lot more explosive than you.
That's exactly right. All right, Blaine, a couple for Tim, and then we'll let him out.
Yeah, Tim, we're going to go to the people who matter the most here, and that's the Booster Club, baby. All right, Texas Ed, hashtag Ask Tim. He wants to know, what are the chances A&M gets overshadowed by Texas when the Longhorns enter the SEC?
Well, that's a loaded question.
Yeah. Also, what are the lottery numbers for next week, by the way?
Well, let me tell you about, I'm really high on Sark now. And after visiting with him, man, he's got his mind right. I mean, he really, really does. And Pete Kwiatkowski, who took over his defense, came over from Washington as his defensive coordinator, is a pretty cerebral guy. But I was Spencer was too. I mean, we were both pretty candid with them after watching the Alabama game to open. I think I told you guys the Gary Patterson effect as an analyst on their defense was something that you really noticed in the Alabama
for sure.
game. And Sark mentioned that they're doing pop quizzes on Thursday mornings now with their team, pop quizzes in terms of preparation. Gary Patterson did that at TCU. Okay. There's little subtle things that he brings to the table. And Chris Del Conte, the AD, was pretty smart to do this, fellas. I mean, as soon as TCU fired him, he's on the phone. Del Conte is the guy that built the statue for Patterson in Fort Worth on the campus at TCU.
I did not know that.
I think that sort of creative tension, that comes from having a guy with his pedigree, on the staff. But you know what? Both of them, both Sark and Kwiatkowski said, he's been great. He's just been awesome to work with. And Gary's keeping a very low profile. Okay. I mean, the Gary Patterson I used to know would have found his way to seeing me or making contact somehow. And we found him on the sideline during the game. I just think they're in a good place. I like what I'm seeing from Texas here. Now, that isn't to say that they don't have issues, but they are blocking out the noise as well as it's ever been blocked out. They may be in a better place than A&M by the time they get to the SEC. I'm not saying they are or they will. I'm just saying they may be, because Del Conte as an AD is really sharp. He's one of these guys that understands the psychology just as much as the coaches do. And I like what I'm seeing at Texas right now. Proof will be in the pudding against the bad OU team. Let's see if they can boat race Oklahoma in the Red River game. If they do that, they may well be on their way.
Yeah, well, watching Oklahoma's linebackers and secondary runs, like watching, potato sack race.
I totally missed on them. I only dropped them after the K-State loss to 10 in my poll because I didn't think it was a bad loss.
Well, and they always lose to K-State, and they do it to K-State every year.
Exactly.
I mean, but I
was wrong. I was wrong.
Yeah, well, Brent, they need to give Brent a little time there to get some guys in their own defense. Sure. But Timmy B, enjoy it. UCLA, Utah. Can't wait to see you talking about the sun creeping over there, those San Gabriels, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us as usual. Excited to talk to you again soon.
Keep it up, fellas. You're the best out there on college football. I don't know how many segments you do on it each day. I know you run, but you're the best that's out there on college football.
Coming from you, we appreciate it. And like I said, we're just trying to learn to dribble with our left even better every day. But thanks, Tim Brando, Hall of Famer, getting to go out to the Rose Bowl. That's cool as hell.
How cool is that, man?
That's cool as hell.
That's awesome.
All right, everybody, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. And we're dropping content all the time. Appreciate you guys. We're growing like a weed. So make sure you tell everybody about us. And we're going to keep bringing you sports without the political narratives, just how you like it.